Movies. Modern movies can put you into trance. Film producers can and do put you under an enchantment. The modern cinema can very easily put you into trance, and the producers of movies set out to do just that. The wide, immersive screens, high resolution, high dynamic range of colours, short duration of shots, up-close camera technique, high acting quality, expensive scenery, computer-aided design, loud, high-quality sound, surround sound, audio compression, and archetypal themes and images all combine to put you into a level of enchantment. Once you are enchanted, your unconscious receives unmediated content, even if you think you are filtering the information rationally. Movies can reflect and amplify the zeitgeist. Movies can be used for political purposes, propaganda, or for the purposes of marketing. Also, movies are made for the mass market, and they can reflect and amplify the zeitgeist, the popular contemporary feeling within society. For example, if the population is afraid and angry, the movies can take that theme and keep feeding it back and intensifying it. It is interesting to compare the types of movies coming out of Scandinavia with those coming out of the USA. Those coming out of the USA are much more angry and violent, and new movies continue to push the boundaries of violence. If you're sitting in a movie crowd which is all entranced, there is a group hypnosis dynamic, and you are very likely to be drawn into the enchantment. Movies increasingly activating archetypal content. Movie producers have started researching Jungian psychology and developing movie plots based on archetypes. One archetype is the hero's journey. This involves fitting different characters into an archetypal template, something like small boy, girl, nerd, born lives in poverty hardship. Mentor, helper, appears and advises, boy, girl, nerd, he, she is special. Mentor gives, teaches, boy, girl, nerd, special powers, weapon. Boy, girl, nerd, leaves home, old life. Boy, girl, nerd, suffers setbacks and despairs, the dark night of the soul. Boy, girl, nerd, undergoes trials which he, she overcomes with special powers, weapon. Boy, girl, nerd, returns home transformed and triumphant. Hero's journey can feed compensation. The hero's journey motif can be morally uplifting and contain important learnings. However, if your unconscious is compensating for conscious feelings of inferiority and failure in real life, immersive hero's journey movies or hero role-playing computer games can, by feeding your unconscious complementary daydreams, continue to widen the gap between your reality and your unconscious. And unless that widening is narrowed, sooner or later the disparity will manifest itself in psychological distress, as I have already detailed. Even if you are succeeding in life in a realistic way, continued exposure to strong, enchanting portrayals of the hero's journey motif can overstimulate your unconscious to the point where it creates a widening between your conscious and unconscious. We are not superheroes in real life. Too much exposure to immersive hero's journey material may make you unsatisfied and unhappy. It may cause you to take unwise risks or project your unhappiness onto others. War movies can activate Aries Mars archetype. We have already considered how easily the Aries Mars archetype can be activated through enchantment by symbolism and ritual, and of course it can also be activated by movies. These movies can bring home in deeply moving, immersive detail the monstrosity of war, and these horrific images are absorbed by the unconscious. You must ask yourself whether you want to undergo these experiences. If you fight for your country, you may have to, but my advice is not to go wantonly looking for them. If you fall under the enchantment of grotesque war or crime movies, you may want to be asking yourself what your unconscious is trying to get out of this material, or what it is trying to learn. The chances are it is trying, in its own way, to heal some unconscious wounding. A hypnotherapist may be able to take you back to the memories that are causing you pain and enable you to resolve them. Cartoons particularly dangerous. Movie cartoons are arguably more dangerous than movies shot with real actors. Cartoons are more surreal and more naive, simple and unsophisticated, and these are qualities which both bypass conscious evaluation and resonate with the unconscious. Cartoons can show themes of violence that would never be tolerated if actors were used. For example, it is considered permissible for a young child to see a cartoon animal hit another cartoon animal on the head with a hammer. Cartoons can, according to Vance Packard, also be used to deliver opportunistic symbolic messages to children, messages such as the undermining of parental authority in a media that is viewed by parents as harmless. As cartoons become more sophisticated with computer graphics, they become more immersive and more enchanting. Movies' confusional technique. One way the movies enchant you and put information into your mind without the conscious mind being able to filter it is by the confusional technique. This technique is one of many techniques used by hypnotherapists to put clients into trance. It is used by hypnotherapists to hypnotize thinking analytical subjects who have poor mental relaxation skills. The confusional technique involves overwhelming the conscious mind with processing tasks. This is why a hypnotist might have the subject perform some arithmetical calculation whilst the hypnotist randomly touches the back of the subject's neck and shoulders. The subject's conscious mind gets overwhelmed with trying to keep track, and it is only too relieved to shut down and hand over to the unconscious. The movie technique, similar to the confusional technique, is to have short shots of down to 1.5 seconds, so the visual cortex can see the shot, but the mind does not have time to make any judgment about it before the next shot follows, followed by the next and so on. This mesmerises the viewer. It keeps the viewer riveted to the movie, taking in shot after shot without rationally evaluating it. The time of the average shot in the 1930s was about 12 seconds, whereas it is around 2.5 seconds today. Cartoons' effect on psychological arousal level. This short shot technique is used widely in cartoons as well as movies, and there is a very real danger, that exposing children to cartoons not only enchants the child, but sets the child's mind to expect continuous changing scenes of bright, colourful graphics and enthralling content. This form of enchantment changes the child's character. It both stunts the child's capacity to evaluate and sets the child's psychological arousal level as hyposensitive. By hyposensitive, I mean emotionally deadened and needing to seek continuous, powerful stimuli. To use a hearing analogy, it is like exposing the child continually to loud sounds, so the child becomes rather deaf and needs people to shout and needs music turned up to full volume. Predisposition to ADHD and uppers. Children who have had their senses deadened by exposure to rapid, colourful graphics and loud attention-getting sounds, hypotensive children see the world as a dull, colourless and boring place. To compensate, they crave a high level of sensory input to bring them up to a comfortable arousal level. They suffer from what is known today as attention deficit hyperactive disorder. In other words, they cannot concentrate and are continually trying, through hyperactive activity to feed their need for continuous high stimulating input. These children carry this into adolescence and are predisposed to self-treat themselves with the drugs known as uppers, such as amphetamines, cocaine and ice, or to engage in risky behaviour such as serious gambling, violent crime or high-risk sports. This is like a hard-of-hearing person turning up the volume of music in order to have it at a comfortable level for them. Musicians, poets and actors. Musicians, poets and actors use enchantment for benevolent purposes. Entertainment and recreation involve trance. Actors. Powerful actors can enchant you. They speak to the emotions. They do this by their expressions and voices and the content of the production. This is particularly so with dramatic content. Tragedy, sacrifice, love and war. Shakespeare's dramatic plays are spellbinding, whether or not you know the nuances of the language and the historic context. Humour seems more ephemeral, more dependent on the times, more of a recent construct in the human psyche. Puns, for example, have become unfashionable to our modern senses. Poets. Poetry speaks to the unconscious. In England, poets such as Shakespeare, Keats, Tennyson and Rudyard Kipling, and in Australia, poets such as Banjo Paterson and Henry Lawson were immensely influential in feeding the unconscious of their societies. Poetry is less used nowadays. Music and songs. Music and songs can enchant. They are used by the military, the churches, the gambling suppliers and advertisers generally. The disconnected rhythm of hip-hop music disrupts natural thought. Coupled with the evil content of some of the lyrics, hip-hop music is something to avoid. At last count, 43 hip-hop musicians have suffered violent deaths. Your heart rate rises or falls depending on the tempo of music. You may want to think of this when you go to a restaurant playing fast tempo music which will raise your heart rate. This is not good if you are eating, as you should be relaxed. You may feel the owners of businesses are going too far when they are using music to unconsciously alter your heart rate and mood. A lot of modern music styles inhibit conscious thought or, through the unconscious, influence your rational thought processes. To sum up, live acting, poetry, music and songs all speak to the unconscious and are essential to our mental and physical health and our enjoyment of life. Where these are beneficial, you must enjoy them to the full and even on occasion become completely immersed and enchanted so long as it's safe. However, not all entertainment is beneficial. Just be aware with all of these forms of entertainment that they speak to the unconscious and be careful what you are exposing yourself to. Thank you for listening.